Hey guys, it's Brooke. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a new one. It's going to be the first video in a new series that I'm dubbing Craftin and Yappin, where I craft, and while I craft, I yap. Hi, Editing Brooke here to say I'm so sorry. I filmed this entire video in the wrong settings on my camera because I had the settings swapped to make a tutorial. So it's constantly going a tiny bit in and out of focus. You're not going to notice it that much for the rest of the video, but this intro where I'm just chatting before I actually land in Spain, you're gonna notice it. I'm gonna try to put in as many clips from my trip as possible so that you can't see me, so you don't see me going in and out of focus the whole video, but I literally can't refilm that. I mean, it took me a very long time to film and I can't do it all again. So I'm sorry about that. If it's gonna upset you, keep it off of full screen, skip the intro, and then after that, hopefully it'll be okay. Today, I'm gonna be working on my dream scarf. Every single night, I record what kind of dream I have, good, bad, weird, no dream, combination, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was starting to work on this scarf, but I was making it flat in the garter stitch, and it started looking really bad because the wrong side had so many ends to weave in. So I was talking about it on a live, oh, I don't know what to do, it kind of looks bad, blah, blah, blah. And then someone, Amy, said, why don't you just make it in the round and then keep all the ends on the inside? So smart. So now I'm redoing it. This is the month of January. I started it this week, literally, and this is how much we have done. So already this is faster than the other one, even though it's double the stitches, just because it's knit all the way around instead of doing the garter stitch. It's just a little bit faster. So yeah, this is what I'm gonna be working on. Let me know what you're working on while you're watching this. So now that we got what I'm crafting, let's talk about what I'm yapping about. Today I'm gonna be chatting about my trip to Spain. A few weeks ago, I went on a little vacay to Spain. It was my first ever time in Europe. It was really fun. So I put a little poll on my YouTube, would y'all like to hear about it? And some people said yes. So for you, I'm gonna do it because I feel like chatting about it because it was fun. It's not a vlog because I didn't vlog while I was there because I was with my family and I thought it would be weird. So I just took clips and I'm just gonna talk about the trip and show you the clips. I'm starting off with my white color, which is the end of each month. I just use it as a little border to cut off so I can see, oh, this is clearly January because everything under the white is January and everything above the white is February, blah, blah, blah. Also, I do want to note that as I'm talking about my trip, I'm very grateful I was able to go on it. I had an amazing time. I mean, I saw a new country, a place I'd never been before, and I'm really blessed to be able to do that. There are gonna be some quote unquote negative things I'm gonna say just because that happens anytime you go anywhere, anytime you're living life, you know, bad things happen. So I'm not saying that to be ungrateful. It's just, that's how life is. That's how life be. So anyway, I will say we are flying overnight, and because the flight was so short, being 7.5 hours, I didn't have enough time to get sleep. My seat position was kind of poopy, literally, because I was right in front of the bathroom and I couldn't recline. So I was like, oh shoot, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sleep enough. But I did have the window seat, so I was able to sleep against the window, which is nice. But again, because the flight was only 7.5 hours, in between those meal times, I really only slept for 2 or 3 hours, and then we landed at 9 a.m. So we get to the hotel, you know, and it was interesting because I thought the hotel was a rather normal size, but apparently it was really big for European standards, which makes sense because again, European is an old place, so of course everything's gonna be a little smaller. But thankfully we had a really nice big room. We had 2 bathrooms, I slept on the couch, and then my parents had the bed in their bedroom. It was really nice. What was interesting though, and was my first culture shock upon landing in Madrid, is that they make you put your key card in a little slot, and that determines if you've got air conditioning. If the key is out of that slot, the air's off. So we would leave a key in the room all day long to make sure the room is air conditioned so that when we got back, it was cool. So sometimes we would get back from our days and after the cleaning crew came in, they would remove the key from the key slot so it was hot. And we were like, please, we're American. Like, I understood coming to Europe that there wouldn't be much air conditioning, but in my opinion, if you're a hotel for, in theory, international guests, let us keep our air conditioning on. You know what I mean? Like, it's hot. And even when the AC was on, it wasn't very strong. So that was very interesting. The first thing we did was kind of go to a big plaza. I don't know what it was. It wasn't the Plaza Mayor. It was just a plaza. I'm not really sure where a bunch of people were. Hung out there, people watched for a bit, and then we went to the Mercado de San Miguel, and that was a giant food market and was incredible. This was my first time having Spanish food since being here. As someone who loves meat, but especially ham, I had a great time there because if you've been to Spain, you know ham is their specialty, and it was incredible. I also tried sardines for the first time in this market. It was very good. It was like sardines on a cracker with, I don't know, whatever else. And it was just very salty. But besides that, I loved it. We also had chorizo, we had fruit. This was a great market, though I will say it was extremely busy. To be fair, it was a Saturday, so that's why it was extremely busy. But man, we were body to body with people. This is technically an enclosed space, but there's no air conditioning. You know what I mean? It's more farmer's market-esque, I would say. And so it was extremely hot. You know, we're sweaty, we're eating our ham, we're drinking our beer, doing whatever. So after we went to the Mercado de San Miguel, we went to a different part of downtown and we went to the Calo Museum. It was beautiful. To be fair, I don't remember much because at this point it was, I don't know, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock when we were here, and I was getting so jet lagged. Like I have never experienced jet lag before, so I've never had to be extremely active, walking miles and miles and miles while on 2 hours of sleep. And it was like I was drunk almost. Like I was so exhausted. I didn't realize while in there that you couldn't film because there were no signs outside. And I saw other people clearly taking pictures and videos and no one said anything. So I was like, oh, okay, like if no one's saying anything to them, I guess it's fine. So I took a couple pictures and videos and then I got screamed at. So that was unfortunate. The museum was really pretty, but again, I truly didn't remember much. I mean, I almost fell asleep standing up while I was there. I would basically hobble between room to room and sit down and then fall asleep. And then my family would wake me up when it was time to go to the next room. It was great though. This is my only one regret from this trip, is that I don't remember much of this museum because I was so exhausted. It literally is like black in my mind. Like I have no idea. I don't know what was there besides what I took pictures of. After we went to the Prado Museum, we all got really tired, so we quite literally just walked around wherever our feet took us. We ended up at a park that I think was called the Western Park. It was really, really pretty. It had a great overlook of different parts of the city, and there were tons of people hanging out, you know, having picnics, studying, doing things like that, and that was a really, really pretty park. And then after the park, again, we just walked around. This was our primary time to just look at really cool buildings and really cool architecture where people just lived. You know what I mean? Like this is normal for them because Europe, again, such an old place, old architecture. We also did walk by the Royal Palace, and that was our first time seeing it. Again, stunning. Stunning, stunning, stunning. And then after that, all we did was go back to the hotel. We took naps because we desperately, desperately needed it. That became our routine. We would leave the hotel by like 9 or something like that. We would come back around 4, take a nap, and then come out and go back to dinner. And I always knew that the Spanish ate late at night, but I didn't fully understand until I was there. We would go out to dinner at like 7:30 and we would finish at 9. And at 9, when we leave the restaurant, everyone else is coming to sit down and start dinner. And I'm like, man, like y'all work a 9 to 5. You just don't get any sleep. So our working theory became that people would work their 9 to 5, come home, take a nap, wake up, go to dinner at 9, finish dinner at like 11, come home, go to bed, and wake up for work the next day. Another thing that I knew is that the Spanish took a long time to eat meals, but again, I did not fully register until I was there, where one time we were going to eat dinner and they said, you only have an hour and a half for service, is that okay? And I was like, yeah. Maybe 45 minutes is all we need. You know what I mean? If we're speedy, it could be 30, but like 45 minutes, an hour is fine. An hour and a half? And my dad said, yeah, she's telling us that because that's a short amount of time for them. And I was like, holy cow. Day two started bright and early. I was feeling good. I was feeling great. I mean, I had energy actually because I slept for so long the first night. We started out by going to a flea market. I don't remember the name of it. I'll put it on the screen somewhere. And that was really cool. It was a little nerve-wracking because flea markets are like big tourist attractions, so they're a really big pickpocketing space. But thankfully, none of us got pickpocketed the entire time. And again, I'm not saying this is the thing with Spain or thing with Europe. It happens in the US too. If you're in New York City and you're walking in Times Square, great chance you're gonna get pickpocketed. You know what I mean? We found a really cute bookstore, and every time we found a bookstore, my dad was so funny. He'd walk straight to the back where he knew they kept the English books because he really wanted to bring an English book home. So yeah, that bookstore was really cute. And then this was our cathedral day. This was the day we kind of just walked around different neighborhoods, and we just, every time we saw a cathedral with the doors open, we walked in, and wow, I mean, again, the architecture. As one of my friends so eloquently said, the Catholics don't do everything right, but man, can they build a church. Can they build a pretty church? So it was really cool to experience that. And we got to meet a couple nuns, which was really cool. And I ended up buying these 2 coasters from her. These are hand crocheted by her. First off, her crochet ability was amazing. These are impeccable. The stitches are so tight, the tension's perfect. I feel like a thing a lot of people worry about is where your dollar's going, you know what I mean? Or in this case, euros, where your euros are going. And it was really cool knowing that I'm paying this lady, and the money's going straight to her local cathedral or the rest of the nuns. And I thought that was a really cool thing. This day we went by again, and we actually went into the cathedral that's right across from the royal palace. It was really beautiful. I'll let the videos speak for themselves. It was completely stunning, awe-inspiring architecture, stained glass, etc. We actually went in during a service, which was pretty cool. We got a glimpse of it. Again, I didn't know what they were saying, but it was still really cool. And it was funny because my stepmom is Catholic, so she could tell what was going on even though they weren't speaking English. She's like, I know what's happening, I just don't know what they're saying. And then after we were at the royal palace, we ended up, again, just walking around, appreciating the architecture and the history in Madrid. We did end up at the Plaza Mayor that day, and wow, was it busy. Also, there was some event going on. I don't think I took a video of it, but there were all these booths or something set up in the actual middle of the plaza. So I don't really know what was going on, but it was pretty, lots of people, and there were lots of little restaurants around there as well. Okay, I think that was the end of day 2. I don't really remember what else we did. More likely than not, we went back to the hotel, took a nap, then got up, went to dinner. Again, we did that every single day. Another culture shock that I had while being there is that I knew there wouldn't be much air conditioning, but when we flagged taxis down and got in them, I was expecting to feel a cold rush of air because there's air conditioning in the taxis. False. What I did expect is that none of the taxis had their air conditioning running because later I found out they think it wastes gas. So the windows are down, but it's, 80, 90 degrees outside. It's okay when you're driving because then there's wind, of course, but when you're stopped, you start cooking in those little taxis, man. Holy cow. All right, and with that, we start day 3 of the trip. So day 3 of the trip started off amazing. I mean, all the days started off amazing. The whole trip was amazing. But day 3 started off with going to Retiro Park with botanical gardens, sculptures, fountains. It was beautiful. At this park, the most famous landmarks are the Crystal Palace. The Grand Pond of El Retiro was there, and it's got this beautiful statue of a man on horseback, and the architecture again of that building was amazing. And what I also appreciated as we go about the park is that there were lots of musicians, but they weren't like annoying musicians, you know what I mean? There were people playing saxophone. There was a really cool guy who was playing water glasses, and I'll put a clip of that here.
Wow. Oh my god. Mamma mia. Hey, Texas. Texas.
And then there was a woman playing the cello outside of the Crystal Palace. I mean, they really set the mood. I was talking to my dad and I was saying, you know what? The city of Madrid should pay these people because they really contribute to the ambiance and the beauty of this park. And then also in this park was a section of rose gardens, which was absolutely stunning. Unfortunately, I think we came a little too late because a lot of them were dying, but I was talking to my family about it and I was thinking the strategy is that they've got different types of roses that bloom at different times so that when people come, they can still see them, because we were in almost true summer. So some of like the spring bloomers were dying, but some true summer bloomers were fine. So that was really pretty. But at this point it was getting hot because there was no shade in the rose garden. So we were struggling at this point. We had planned to go to this park in the morning because we weren't sure how much shade there would be, and it just gets so hot when you're walking in the sun, but it ended up amazing. Also, there was a giant book fair, hundreds of bookstores, colleges, etc., selling books, so many children, activities, food. It was amazing. We tried to walk down the whole thing and we literally gave up because there were so many booths with books, and at every booth we kept trying to find English books, but there weren't any. But that was really cool to see. I don't know, whenever I go to new places, I always just think about the lives of people that live here. You know what I mean? These are children who have grown up here their whole lives, and they're just at the park, at their book fair. It's just, I don't know, it's interesting when you're a tourist in someone else's day-to-day life. You know what I mean? And what was also really interesting about the fact that Spaniards eat late and they take a long time to eat is that New York's the city that never sleeps. I think Madrid is the city that never sleeps. Like, I feel like when you're in New York City or cities in the US that I've been to, New York City, Chicago, I can't think of other cities, I don't know, LA, Dallas, the nightlife is very prevalent, but it's mostly adults. You know what I mean? What I noticed in Spain is that it'll be 11 p.m. and we're walking around after dinner, and most people are still at dinner, and there are children everywhere. It was interesting because the nightlife was holistic for the entire population, children to the elderly, but I feel like in the US, the nightlife, it's mostly, 20-somethings or adults. I guess it's been a minute since I've been in a city, but I feel like rarely do you see children out that late, you know what I mean? But it was very common there. That was the end of day 3, day 2, day 3, whatever day it was. This next day, day 4, was actually my favorite day of the trip, I think. We went to the Ceralbo Museum, which was essentially a museum inside this guy's house. So this guy was Enrique de Aguilera y Gamboa, Marquis of Ceralbo. Yes, I had to read that off my phone because I did not remember it. And this museum took place in his home. It was amazing. It was amazing. There was a video that went viral on TikTok the other day of a white woman talking about experiencing xenophobia in France and feeling kind of silly talking about because she's a white woman. And I feel the exact same way. I had 2 instances in Spain where I felt like my group was being judged because we're clearly American and we're clearly foreigners, despite the fact that we're behaving, you know, very normally. We're a very respectful group and we love to go to museums. When we're in museums, like, we're silent. You know what I mean? Like, we're silent, we're walking slowly, we're not getting too close, you know, we're doing everything you're supposed to do. But this was the first day where we had an old lady gripe at me, which turned out to be the old ladies every single time. So essentially what happened was we were in the first room of the museum and we had gotten an audio guide. And I was trying to play the audio guide according to what I was seeing. And I was really excited about this room because it was a textiles room. It was full of incredible embroidery and fabrics and jewelry, fans, like incredible stuff. And so I was trying to get the audio guide to work and I was listening to it and I was like, this don't sound right. The museum guy walked up to me and he said, oh, that doesn't work here. And I laughed and I said, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, of course, why am I listening about furniture when I'm looking at garments? You know what I mean? And so I chuckled and I said, oh, okay, thank you. Cause I was confused. And this lady goes, shh, at me. And I was like, you better not be talking to me, Grandma. You better not be talking to me because I'm talking to the security guard. Like, what the F? I was like, don't shush me while I'm talking to the security guard. That pissed me off. And then what also pissed me off is that, again, this museum is taking place in someone's house. So it's not just clearly marked out things to look at. You know what I mean? It's the whole thing. It's the floors, it's the ceiling, it's the stuff on the walls. So people were talking the whole time. Look at this, look at this, look at this. And I was like, oh, okay. So like they can talk because they're speaking in Spanish, but because I'm speaking English, I can't speak, right? Okay, good to know. Thank you for telling me. Didn't know that was a rule. But I will say, besides the fact that I had that issue with the grandma and another issue with the grandma, everyone in Spain was very nice. The ticket people at the museum, people we interacted with were extremely kind for the most part, and I really appreciated that. And this is how the interaction would go. They would say, American? And we would say, yes, American. And they'd say, California. We'd say, no, not California. Texas. Yes, Texas. Back to the story. You walk in the entrance of this building and there are paintings everywhere, gorgeous chandeliers, like beautiful staircases. Every room had a theme and I loved having the audio guide so it could explain to me. Beautiful murals painted on the ceilings, incredible furniture in every single room. And one thing about me, y'all might not know, is that I'm a sucker for antique furniture. I love hand-carved wood furniture, and so Spain was the place to be. There was lots of really pretty antique furniture, and it was just one of those things where you're like, this is grandiose for our standards. Like, what was it like back in the day? You know what I mean? Living somewhere like this when everyone else is in like a straw hut outside. Not really, but you know what I mean? It wasn't just the rooms that were decked out, it was the hallways too. The hallways were decked out in beautiful stuff. They had a ballroom. They had so many rooms in the house, you know what I mean? They had a couple bedrooms, a couple bathrooms, and they had like a room to play pool. They had a library. They had a room for the girls to put their makeup on. They had like an Asian inspired room. I don't know, all these different things. It was just very interesting being there. Oh, they had an armory where they kept all the armor and swords and stuff like that. They had a separate prayer room, which I learned from the audio guide. They had to get like specific permission from the Pope at the time in order for them to run their own little masses like in their home. Also, the garden outside, I know this is dumb, it might have been my favorite part. The garden outside was beautiful. It had ponds, it had sculptures. It was stunning, I will say. And then after we went to that museum, we went to the Botanical Gardens of Madrid. That was really cool. I don't know if I just haven't been to a botanical garden in a while, but I feel like most of the botanical gardens that I've been to are just flowers and stuff like that, obviously. But this one was really cool. It had plants from around the world. I can't imagine the difficulties of keeping up extremely arid desert plants in this climate. It was just very interesting seeing, you know, plants that I've grown up with in Spain, kept perfectly in prime condition, might I say. And then we found some like art gallery. It was very strange. I will say this was the only slightly negative experience we had. We went inside and it was, I would say, disturbing art. I still don't really understand. Like, I don't even know if I filmed most of the disturbing stuff, but it was like a bunch of tiny baby dolls hanging from the ceiling, like a mannequin with her arm cut off. I don't I don't know. Things like that. But then the other half of the gallery was actually really nice. It was photos, and those were lovely. But yeah, that was interesting. In the botanical gardens as well, they had the whole outdoor area, but they also had indoor stuff. Again, with more plant biodiversity. So they had an enclosed space. They had like a dry, semi-humid, and then humid area. So the dry place was, I mean, it was like you stepped into a desert, quite literally. Like just cacti and things like that. And it was like, you know, you can feel it. You know what I mean? Like if you've been to Arizona and the southwest of the US in the summer, you can feel the heat. And then they had a humid area, which was very Florida. I didn't want to go in the humid areas because I'm sick of it now. I'm sick of the humidity. But the extremely humid area was a rainforest. I mean, it was beautiful. I took 2 steps in and I felt like I was choking because it was so humid and I had to leave. But it was really great to appreciate from outside. Oh, and then another funny thing that happened that day is we were bopping around and we saw this sign that said Bridgerton Experience. And we were like, what? We followed the signs naturally. And there was this like Bridgerton setup in the botanical gardens. One of the scenes in Bridgerton was shot in this garden, and so whenever the newest season aired, they like had the cast there. I don't know, whatever. And now we're starting day 5. Day 5 was very similar to day 4, where we went to a museum in someone's house. So we went to the Sorolla Museum, devoted to the work and life of Joaquin Sorolla. So yeah, this was another museum where it took place in his house, and this was another museum where I got yelled at by an abuela. So we were at the ticket counter. The ticket counter outside of the museum. Okay. We were chatting with the ticket counter guy because he said, America? Yes. California? No. Texas? Yes. There were clearly Americans behind us, and they had guides in their hands, and the guide that they had for this museum actually said, if you enjoy this, you should go here. And so one of them on there was the Soralbo Museum that we went to the day before. So I turned around and I said, oh my gosh, have you been to the Soralbo Museum? And they said no. And I said, you need to go there. Like, that was incredible. Like, that was my favorite part of the trip. That's awesome. We're from Texas. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they said, where in Texas are you from? We said, you know, Dallas. And they said, we're from San Antonio. And we were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And were we inside the museum? No. So when, again, another grandma goes, shh, I was like, lady, watch it. I was like,
I remember thinking, I'm about to beat this bitch up.
And I said out loud, oh, I didn't know we were supposed to be silent in here. Excuse you? There was some school that was doing a tour of this museum. And so there were children everywhere. So guess what? The children were loud. Guess what never happened? That lady didn't shush anyone else. Children screaming. You know what I mean? Screaming. As we were walking to the palace, we saw like the History Museum of Madrid. So we went in there because it was free. Incredible. It was really interesting to see how Madrid popped up, how it came to be. It went through, you know, all the different rulers. It showed like city plans from when it was first established. It was really interesting. And you were kind of walking through time because it would show portraits of this leader, then this leader, and this leader, blah, blah, blah. And then it would show clothing from this year, how it developed, how it changed. It was interesting to see how technology, you know, changed because you could see it right before your eyes in an extremely helpful linear format. So you could tell what came right after what. And that was awesome. And this was also a funny moment where at this point, it was the second to last day or the last day of the trip. And I had a total of 10 euros left. Cash. And so I was like, I just need to get rid of this. As much as I didn't need to bring a bunch of souvenirs back with me and I didn't need to spend money, I still was like, okay, I should spend this money because why not? When else am I going to be here? So we went into the gift shop, and the gift shop had really cute stuff. And there was a cute tote bag. So I was like, you know what? I'll get it. It's 7 euros. I've got 10 euros. I'll let her keep the change, whatever. And then I get there and we check out and she says, oh, we don't take cash. At this point, I'm standing here. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say no. So I say, oh, okay. And so I pay card, and so I still have those 10 euros. What am I gonna do with it? Okay, so this is the bag. If it's covered in dog hair, I'm sorry, but it's just a map of Madrid. Slight fail, because I have it and I still have my 10 euros, but that's okay. One of the things I loved the most about all the museums were these intricately hand-painted fans that were everywhere. I mean, true artwork masterpieces painted on them, and it was so impressive because it was so tiny. After we did the History Museum, we ended up doing our palace tour, and that was crazy. It's everything that you'd imagine a palace to be. I truly don't have the words to explain, so I'm just going to show you all some clips because it was stunning and huge, and we didn't even get to see all of it. Like, I'm pretty sure we only saw like a specific wing of the palace, but we saw a bunch of different bedrooms, a bunch of different seating areas, and the throne room. We saw like the chapel, we saw the armory. It was just really freaking cool. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that make you wish you were in an older country to have something like this, something so cool. It was amazing. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna play y'all some of the clips of me touring the palace because it was truly stunning. Go. My stepmom really wanted to buy something ceramic to take home. And so we found this ceramic shop, and we spent so long in this tiny little shop, and we talked to the store owner a lot, and he said everything in this shop was made from 3 different families. One family in Barcelona, one in Madrid, and one in Valencia, I think. Because of that, every single piece is extremely unique. We spent maybe an hour in there just looking at everything, and it was one of those stores where you're kind of nervous because one wrong move and you're knocking everything down because it's everywhere, you know what I mean? So I did end up getting something from the store. I wanted something small for my luggage because my luggage was packed, but also I was afraid of breaking it, and I didn't have a lot of disposable income because I used all the disposable income to get there, so I needed it to be cheap. So I ended up buying this soap dish. If you know anything about me, you know I love color. If I were to describe my style, it would be colorful grandma core. And so the fact that this is rainbow with beautiful florals, handmade, I was really excited about this. And then I ended up getting another one from my mom. She's not as much the colorful rainbow kind of person. So I got her this beautiful blue and white soap dish. Incredible. And then my stepmom ended up getting a oil and vinegar set. Everything in this place was stunning. How cool is it that I get to purchase this and use this that was handmade by someone else across the world? So cool. Another funny story is that we had a taxi driver one night, and so we were chatting with this taxi driver, and, you know, he did the whole thing, America, California, Texas, Dallas, blah, blah, blah. And he started talking about how much he loves America. And, you know, it'd be the same thing if I started talking about how much I love Spain, like how I have in this video. It's very touristy, you know what I mean? It's the common stuff. It's ham, it's the architecture, things like that. And so for him, he was like muscle cars, love American muscle cars. And he was talking about how he imported like a Dodge Challenger, a Dodge Charger, a Mustang, like all these different, and he showed us his Instagram while he's driving, mind you. So we're a little bit nervous because he's driving, going through his Instagram reels to show us all of his different videos of his cars. And we're like, oh yes, it was really cool, but like, can we do this not while we're driving? You know what I mean? We're a little bit scared. He almost bumped people a couple times. Oh, and then he was like, American music, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent. And so then we listened to Snoop Dogg and 50 Cent the rest of the drive. He was great. He was very nice. I also realized on this trip I didn't take any pictures or videos of the food because as soon as the food came out, it was in my body. Actually, I took one picture. I took one picture of a seafood paella, which was my mouth watering. I love food. It was great. It was all around a great trip. Literally though, I was texting pictures to friends and they were like, so does Spain not have any food? Because we're not getting any food pictures. And I was like, as soon as the food touches the table, it's entering my mouth. It's the combination of the food being incredible and us walking 15 to 20,000 steps a day to where as soon as the food touches, it's in my mouth. You know what I mean? I'm starving. I'm starving. Okay, one negative thing about Spain that slightly freaked me out. And again, this is not to, you know, criticize. There's issues with everywhere. You know what I mean? I did notice that the bathrooms in the restaurants never had soap in the women's restroom. Never, ever, ever. And often it was like, clearly it had never been refilled in days, weeks, because there was one place where they had a soap dispenser and at the bottom they had like a bucket to catch if the soap spilled. And there was a bunch of soap in the bottom and it was hard. It was rock solid. And I was like, how long has this been here? Like, I don't know about that. And what I started to realize by day 2 is that there was no soap in the women's restroom. There was always soap in the men's. You know why? Because the men aren't washing their hands. And if they are, they're not using soap. All right, Editing Brooke here again, just to clarify. I just want to make sure y'all know I'm not trying to criticize anyone from Madrid or Spain in general. I'm just observing what I saw. And I do want to note that about half the time we were in touristy areas, and that's when the scenario makes more sense. You got high foot traffic, you're busy, things like that. And in that case, the men who aren't washing their hands are foreigners. About the other half of the time, we were in less touristy areas, and I still noticed the same problem with there not being enough soap. Again, things happen. I'm just particularly worried about this because I'm a certified germaphobe, so yeah. Disgusting. Disgusting. But then at least I could wash my hands. So one thing that I regret is that I should have brought hand sanitizer with me because I'm a chronic hand washer. And so like you know, I can't just walk around all day and go sit down and eat and not wash my hands. Like, I have to wash my hands. And then I was like, you know, I would hope and assume that the people working at the restaurants have a kitchen in the back that they're using to wash their hands, because I'm slightly disturbed by the fact that there's no soap. But overall, this trip was incredible. So many beautiful places, great people, amazing food. It was so much fun. It was just the right amount of time to where I felt like I got to see everything without feeling like too rushed. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Any of y'all ever have plans to go and want, I don't know, recommendations for wherever we went? I mean, I guess this is it, but if you ever want to talk about it, let me know, because I had such an incredible time and it makes me want to go to Europe more. That's pretty much it. I think I'm done yapping. It was an amazing trip, honestly. I was really grateful. I'm really lucky. I'm blessed I'm able to go, because I know not many people are able to travel outside of their states, let alone leave the country. So I'm really blessed that I was able to go. It was an amazing time. Despite the few hiccups of the soap and the old ladies yelling at me, it really was incredible. And I don't mean to be, you know, disrespectful to anyone from Spain, because I had a great time in Madrid. It was amazing. It was so cool. Anyway, I think that's all. I think I'm done yapping. So if you're wondering how many rows I finished, I did 13 rows. So we're almost halfway through February now. This was very productive. Look at all these ends. If you're curious, no, I'm not gonna weave them in. I'm literally gonna knot them all together, cut them shorter, and then sew the end shut. I don't care. This is for me, so I just don't care about the quality. If it falls apart, it falls apart. You know, I'm just gonna appreciate it until that date. I think that's gonna be it. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was entertaining at least. Let me know if you'd like something like this in the future for when I go on trips. I do have a trip planned in September. I might try to fully vlog it though, but let me know. Would you prefer a true vlog? Would you prefer something like this? Let me know. And yeah, that's gonna be all for this video. Thank y'all so much for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.